The laugh cut through the beach before anyone decided what it meant. "Kung Fu guys are weak," the surfer said, voice riding the wind, then louder. "All that movie stuff don't work out here." Boards stopped moving. Heads turned. The words stayed where they landed, and the crowd understood something had already begun. "Say it again," someone urged. "I said Kung Fu's brittle," the surfer repeated, smiling wider. "Salt'll snap it." Bruce Lee did not answer. He stood barefoot, still, eyes level, as if the sound needed time to finish itself. What follows was never meant to be verified. Those present later disagreed on what truly happened, because the moment slipped into legend as soon as it refused to resolve. Some said the beach changed when the silence stretched. Others said it was always like that, waiting. "You hear me?" the surfer pressed. "This ain't a set. Waves don't care about forms." A witness later claimed the crowd leaned in without stepping forward. "Out here," the surfer went on, "strength shows itself. You don't talk it." Lee's reply was small. "Strength shows," he said. That was all. "Shows how?" The surfer laughed, impatience leaking through. "You gonna bow? You gonna pose?" Lee breathed once. Slow. Another voice from the sand said, "He ain't backing down." "I'm giving you a chance," the surfer said, closer now. "Walk off. No one will remember." Lee did not move. Someone muttered that the air felt thinner. Someone else said this was getting stupid. One witness said the surfer's breath left him early, not from contact, but from realizing the moment would not bend back. "You hear that?" the surfer said, louder again, to the beach, to his friends, to the man who still hadn't shifted. "Last chance, right now, before everyone sees what happens next." The surfer stepped closer and smiled like the crowd had already agreed with him. "See," he said, spreading his arms, "this place tells the truth. Waves don't lie. Sand don't lie." He laughed again, louder. "You earned strength out there, not in a mirror." Someone answered with a half laugh. Someone else nodded. Stories say he wanted that sound more than anything. "I'm not even mad," the surfer went on. "I'm explaining. Bodies get built by resistance. Salt, impact. You fall, you get back up." He looked at Lee. "Forms don't do that." Lee said nothing. "Look around," the surfer said, turning to the beach. "You see anyone bowing to the tide?" He waited, then filled the pause himself. "That's what I thought." A witness later claimed the laughter changed shape, less free, more careful. "I'm giving you respect," the surfer continued, voice rising. "I'm talking instead of swinging." He pointed down at the sand. "Out here, talking's already generous." Lee's answer came quietly. "You talk a lot." The surfer grinned, but the grin stayed too long. "Because people listen," he said. "That's how you know you're right." He glanced at his friends as they drifted closer, not surrounding, just visible. "Right?" One of them shrugged. Another said, "He's got a point." "You hear that?" the surfer said, satisfied. "This ain't personal. It's public." He leaned in. "Public means honest." Lee's gaze stayed level. He shifted one foot, scuffing the sand just enough to settle his balance. "You waiting for something?" the surfer asked. "A cue? A camera?" He laughed again, sharper now. "This is the real test." Someone near the boards said later the crowd stopped moving altogether. "I don't need to prove anything," the surfer said, faster. "But if you stand there, people assume." He tilted his head. "And assumptions get answered." Lee said, "Assumptions end themselves." The surfer exhaled hard, words tumbling back in. "No," he said, stepping closer again. "They get corrected, right here, right now, with witnesses." The surfer didn't wait for permission. "You standing there like that's an answer," he said, voice quick now, like silence wins arguments. He laughed, but it came out thin. "Say something real." Bruce Lee watched him, eyes steady. He nodded once. "I'm listening." That was it. Those present later claimed that was when the rhythm broke. Not loudly, just enough. The surfer filled the gap immediately. "Listening to what?" he said. "Waves, or some lesson you rehearsed?" He paced a step, words stacking. "Because out here, hesitation gets punished." Lee said, "You're rushing." The surfer stopped pacing. "No," he said, sharper. "I'm making a point." He turned to the crowd. "You all see this, right? He won't answer straight. A few murmurs answered him back. Lee's voice stayed level. You already decided. That pause stretched longer than the others. He thinks this is timing, the surfer said, pointing, impatience creeping in, like he's waiting for a perfect moment. He laughed again. Moments don't wait. A witness later said the crowd noticed how the talking kept moving one way. You planning to do something? The surfer asked. Or is standing your whole style? Lee breathed in, then out. Standing is enough, the surfer scoffed, but his eyes flicked down and back up. Enough for what? He said, faster now. You testing me? Lee shook his head slightly. You're testing yourself. Another pause. Shorter. Tighter. Someone near the water whispered that the air felt wrong. I don't like games, the surfer said, stepping closer. I like answers. Another witness claimed the talking had tipped into something else. He's doing this on purpose, someone said. He wants him to talk. The surfer heard fragments and bristled. Don't narrate me, he snapped to no one in particular. I decide when this turns. The beach stayed quiet, which only pressed him harder. Lee adjusted his stance, weight arriving where the sand didn't fully hold. The surfer saw it. There, he said quickly, louder. That. You felt it too. He leaned in, voice hard. You're waiting, and waiting means you know this isn't going your way yet. Lee met his eyes. Yet. The surfer smiled, but it didn't reach. The noise returned in pieces, not cheers, not gasps, just shifting feet and held breath, waiting for what came next now. Good, he said, words tumbling back, because I'm done waiting, and everyone's about to see why. The surfer stepped in again before anyone could stop the motion. You think standing close scares me? He said, voice cutting. This is where you find out if something's real. He tilted his head. You feel small yet? Those present later argued about when it escalated, because no strike marked it, only distance shrinking. Back up, someone said softly, then quieter. Or don't. I'm right here, the surfer went on, words sharpened now. No tricks. No space to hide. He circled half a step, crowd closing without noticing. This is what pressure looks like. Lee did not mirror him. He let the man move. Pressure shows habits, he said. The surfer scoffed. There you go again, he snapped. Half sentences. You think that's control? He leaned closer. Control is taking ground. A witness later claimed Lee's eyes weren't on the man's face anymore. You see everyone, the surfer said louder, pulling the moment public again. This is where it breaks. He laughed once short. He don't even blink, Lee answered quietly. Blinking isn't losing. Stop talking like that, the surfer said, irritation slipping through. Say what you mean. Lee's voice stayed even. You're rushing the ending. The surfer's smile twitched. No, he said. I'm ending it. He stepped closer, chest nearly touching. Right now. Some said this was hesitation. Others said it was overconfidence. All remembered the same detail, that the surfer kept talking because stopping felt worse. You gonna move? He asked. You gonna do anything? Lee adjusted by inches, weight shifting with the sand, his balance settling where the ground softened. The surfer saw the change and reacted too fast. There, he said sharp. That's fear. Lee shook his head. That's listening. Don't twist it, the surfer said, words faster now. I know what I see. He glanced sideways, checking the circle. Everyone sees it. A witness later said, the certainty in his voice thinned. You don't belong out here, the surfer pressed. Beach makes its own rules. He leaned in again. And you don't look ready. Lee met him without stepping back. Rules reveal themselves. The surfer laughed, but it cracked. You think this is clever, he said. You think you're in control because you're quiet. He breathed hard. Quiet don't win. The noise around them broke into fragments. Shifting feet, held breath, no one sure where to stand. I'm done asking, the surfer said, voice raised again to reclaim the moment. I'm done waiting for you to decide. He moved closer still, impatience bleeding through every word. Because if you won't end this, I will, and everyone's watching. Enough, the surfer said, stepping in with his words already ahead of his body. I'm done letting this drag. His voice was tight now, compressed. You had every chance. Stories say it happened within 5 seconds, though no one agrees when the count began. I told you, the surfer continued, closer still. Out here, things get answered. He leaned forward. This is that answer. Lee didn't retreat. You're already moving, he said. The surfer laughed, sharp and short. That's the point. A witness later claimed the circle locked in place, no one breathing right. Watch this, the surfer said, louder, claiming the moment back. Watch how fast quiet disappears. He stepped forward, expecting resistance. He found none. Lee wasn't where the advance aimed. There was no clash, no obvious strike, only timing interrupting intention. The surfer's breath left him all at once, as if the air had been pulled instead of struck. What? The surfer tried, but the sound didn't finish. Those present later argued about what they saw. Some said Lee touched him. Others said he redirected him. One said it looked like nothing at all until it was over. The surfer staggered, feet scrambling for ground that didn't meet him where he expected. That's, he gasped, forcing sound back. That's cheap. Lee stood where he had settled, unmoved. You came fast, he said. The surfer bent slightly, then straightened, embarrassment flaring into anger. You didn't face me, he snapped. You slipped. Lee answered, You passed. A murmur rippled and died immediately. That didn't count, the surfer said, louder, words rushing ahead again. You didn't prove anything. He took another step, then stopped himself, uncertain. You hear me? That was nothing. A witness later said this was when the beach froze, not in awe but confusion. Lee didn't pursue. He didn't explain. You felt it, he said. The surfer shook his head hard. I felt surprise, he insisted. That's all. He looked around quickly. Anyone can surprise. Someone near the boards whispered. He didn't even swing. Exactly, the surfer said, seizing on it. No fight. No win. He drew in air, steadier now. You think that ends it? Lee's gaze stayed level. It already ended. The surfer scoffed, forcing a laugh that came out late. You don't decide that, he said. Crowd decides. He looked around again, searching for noise, for agreement, for something to lock onto. The crowd stayed silent. Say it again, the surfer said finally, voice rougher. Say what you think happened. Lee didn't raise his voice. You moved first. The surfer swallowed, anger and doubt colliding. He straightened his shoulders, volume climbing to cover the gap. No, he said, pointing. I stepped in to show everyone something. He lifted his chin, forcing certainty back into place. And I'm not finished yet. The sound that followed was the water folding back onto itself. Nothing else claimed the space. The surfer stood where he was, chest rising unevenly, eyes searching as if the moment had slipped behind him. That didn't make sense, he said finally, voice lower. That's not how it works. Those present later claimed no one answered him. Say something, he pushed, glancing at his friends. You saw that, right? One of them shifted his weight. Another looked away. No one stepped forward. Lee had already eased back, not retreating, simply restoring space. He said nothing. You don't just end it like that, the surfer insisted, louder, trying to rebuild the edge. There's rules, he laughed once, uncertain. There's always rules. A witness later said the laughter fell flat before it reached anyone. Lee's voice came quietly. You came for proof, the surfer blinked. I came to make a point, he snapped, and I did. He inhaled, steadier now. You surprised me, that's all. He nodded to himself as if sealing it. Surprise fades. Lee didn't correct him. Someone near the boards whispered, He's not following up. Another answered, Why would he? The surfer heard enough to bristle. Don't act like that means something, he said, scanning the circle. If I wanted, I could... He stopped, the sentence collapsing. I could reset. Lee remained still. You already did, he said. The surfer's jaw tightened. You think this is respect, he asked. People just don't know what to say. That's part of it, Lee replied. The beach stayed undecided. No cheers came, no jeers followed. Just the surf and a few feet shuffling back into place. You didn't win, the surfer said, quieter now. You didn't lose either. He exhaled hard. So don't stand there like this means something. Lee met his eyes. Meaning comes later. A witness later said, that landed heavier than the contact. The surfer looked down at the sand, then back up. "I don't owe you anything," he said. "You hear me?" He waited, then added, "This isn't over." Lee gave a small nod, not agreement, not challenge. One by one, the circle loosened. Boards were lifted. Conversations tried to restart, missing their rhythm. The surfer stayed where he was a moment longer, then turned away without another word, leaving the space unresolved, the beach unsure whether to remember what had just happened as nothing at all or something that refused to leave. What followed was argued over almost immediately. He got lucky, some said. He slipped, others insisted. By sunset, the story had already split. One version had the surfer laughing it off, telling friends, "Nothing happened," telling anyone who asked that timing tricks don't mean strength. Another version said he went quiet, telling no one anything, leaving early. Those present later claimed Bruce Lee didn't stay to explain. He walked the shoreline, answering nothing, offering only a nod when spoken to. "That's it?" a witness remembered asking. Lee's reply was small. "That's enough." Days later, the words kept moving. On other beaches, in other mouths, the moment grew sharper. 5 seconds became instant. Absence became strike. Silence became intention. People argued about what counted. There was no fight, some said. That's why it mattered, others answered. The surfer's voice survived, mostly in denial. "You can't call that winning," he was reported to have said. "You can't call it anything." And yet the telling continued, reshaped by whoever needed it. What endured was not the motion but the interruption, a claim met without force, certainty displaced by timing. No record settled it. So the story stayed alive, passed hand to hand, less about who stood taller on the sand and more about why quiet, at the right moment, still unsettles those who hear it. Stories say that is why it's told again, not to prove a winner, but to remind listeners how easily confidence breaks when it rushes itself in memory alone.